All men who are progressive are weak people. Real men are not progressive. That's not the nature of a man. Amazing stuff. This is what has happened to the men of America today. Not all, but many of them have become girly men. Girly men. It's ridiculous. A lot of you remember the Dirty Women March that happened the day after President Trump's inauguration, where you had dirty women like Madonna and others, or at least Madonna said she dreamed of or thought of blowing up the White House, and they had this judge, this woman, judge, last name Judge, who it sounded like she was on PCP or something. Ashley Judge sounded like she was on drugs. It was, but it brought out the dirty women of America. Some people were saying that that was sponsored by George Soros and others, and that people were being paid to be there. I have with me David Pakman, host and executive producer of the national syndicated David Pakman Show, a radio show with a popular podcast and YouTube channel. And David said, he just agreed with that. He wrote an article with the Huffington Post, Trumpist bamboozled by alternative facts. He says, Dirty Women March, he didn't call it dirty, but I do. Dirty Women March protesters were not paid by George Soros and others. And I'm Skyping with David. David, good morning, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, ad hominems aside, like dirty women, that doesn't even make sense to engage on that. But when you say some people are saying that the protesters were paid, I mean, I'd like to hear what people are saying that, specifically who is saying that.
When you hear some of the conservative leadership and conservative media saying that they were paid to protest, I do know that they...
But who is that?
I do know that there are times when protesters are paid to be there. I used to work for a union at one time, and I used to, at one time, help organize the protest against conservatives or businesses. And so I do know how they operate. But it has been said, how do you know that they were not paid?
Jesse, I'm having a hard time believing we're even having this conversation on your program, because so far what you've said is, how do I know the protesters weren't paid?
Because in your article you said they were not.
Have said they were paid.
In your
and
article,
other protests you worked on years ago, according to you, would pay protesters. This is like if I say, hey, Donald Trump is beating Melania every night, and you say to me, well, how do you know that? And I say, can you disprove that Donald Trump is beating Melania every night? I mean, you're asking me to defend something which is the default. In other words, if you're making the extraordinary claim that protesters have been paid, provide some evidence. You haven't even named anybody.
In your article, you write that the Dirty Women March protesters, well, you said women march, but they call themselves nasty women. And so I don't know what's the difference between dirty women and nasty. But you say that they were not paid. Since you wrote this and you're here to talk about that,
there's no evidence
how do you know that they were not
paid? This is what we call burden of proof, Jesse. And I would assume that you know this as someone who's been in this world for a long time. If I make an assertion that is not supported by fact, it is incumbent upon me to provide evidence. And again, you've presented no evidence that anyone was paid other than saying some protests you at some point worked on paid people, allegedly, and that there are some people who you will not name that say people were paid. That's not evidence.
It's not unusual nowadays. I remember when they had that protest in Ferguson and all those radical liberals came out, the children of the lie, and they protested. And they did not get paid, so they start protesting against the folks who had promised to pay them that they had not gotten paid. Remember the Black Lives Matter, the radical Black Lives Matter group and those folks?
I don't know. You're saying
look,
that
I want to
people in
move on.
Ferguson were protesting against those who said that they didn't get paid. I mean, I just don't. Whatever. I don't understand what you just
I
said,
want
but it
to.
has nothing to do with the Women's March. It again, if you can present any evidence that protesters were paid at the Women's March of January 21st, I would love to hear it.
I want to move on because of time.
But you have no evidence. I mean,
I thought you had
there's just
evidence.
no evidence, right? So you're admitting you have no evidence.
David, I thought you had evidence that they were not paid. Apparently, you don't. Let me ask. Last night,
Okay.
Milo.
So there's no evidence. There's
David,
just no. Okay, fair enough. We're moving on with no evidence.
Come down, David. Last night, Milo was scheduled to speak at UC Berkeley, and the radical children of the lie came out of the woodwork and just created a riot, setting fire, throwing rocks and stones at the buildings, and attacking supporters of Milo. What do you think about that?
I'm against any violence of that kind. I think that I don't even know why my opinion matters. I mean, I had nothing to do with that. I'm against starting fires, smashing windows, and using smoke bombs, which is what I'm reading people did. I also, though, think that President Trump is stepping in a very dangerous direction by tweeting. He tweeted that because Milo didn't speak, he threatened to take away federal funding from UC Berkeley.
I love that.
It was a law enforcement decision to get Milo out for his own safety. So I think Trump should spend more time maybe reading, which it's not clear he does much of, and less time watching Fox News and tweeting a live commentary, because this was a law enforcement decision for Milo's own safety.
The reason that President Trump did that, because in America today, children or people who are on the side of good have been attacked and are being attacked over the last 8 years because we had a far-left liberal socialist anti-white, anti-American president in the White House.
Yeah, we didn't have that. There was no more socialism under President Obama than under George W. Bush.
David,
I'm not understanding the logic. You're saying
hold on.
Trump tweeted threatening to take away funding from UC Berkeley because there are people who don't want to hear from Milo. I mean, again, if anybody's going to be mad at somebody at UC Berkeley, it should be with the police there, because it was their decision for Milo's safety that he not speak. Are you mad at UC Berkeley police, or who are you mad at, I guess?
UC Berkeley is against free speech, and because they receive taxpayer dollars, they have a responsibility to protect free speech.
So you're saying that the police are cracking down on free speech. That's a pretty strong anti-law enforcement point of view for someone like you to take, because this was the police decision, right?
When UC Berkeley are not protecting people like Marlo and others, then the government has a right to withhold funding.
They did protect him. They protected him as law enforcement professionals by getting him out of there. I mean, just none of these arguments are making any sense, Jesse.
Thank God that Donald Trump is doing that. The greatest president on this side of heaven. Hold on. Back in a moment, David. Hold on. I'm Skyping with David Pakman, and he wrote an article in the Huffington Post, Trump is bamboozled by alternative facts. He says Women's March protesters were not paid, and it's been written in Breitbart and other media sources that it's known that George Soros and others have paid for these rallies and supported these rallies and paid these folks. Occupy Wall Street, the so-called mothers for the movement. Remember those black women who failed their sons, like Trayvon Martin and others, and now their sons are dead, and they want to blame it on so-called racism? Black Lives Mothers movement, Black Lives Matter. So it's known that George Soros and others are paying and have paid these folks to go out and be destructive. David, the Women's March, that Dirty Women's March website, had a huge list of partners, including Planned Parenthood, environmentalists, feminists, anti-gun group, Muslims, Occupy Wall Street, radical homosexuals and transgenders, unions, NAACP. the National Urban League. I wanted to ask, were there any good and decent and honest organizations that supported the Dirty March, Women's March?
Listen, Jesse, that's a sort of bogus question. Obviously, you don't think that those organizations are good, and I'm not going to be able to convince you that they are. I think here's the key point. The stories about George Soros paying protesters have been widely debunked.
I need you to answer that question for me. Were there any good and decent organizations supporting the Dirty Women March?
It's a silly question because the organizations you listed, I think, are good, but you don't. So where will that conversation get us? Here's the main point. You listed Breitbart, etc. All of those allegations go back to an article written by Asra Nomani, which appeared on the New York Times website. She was asked directly after Breitbart and all of the other right-wing news sites said, look, Soros paid them. Do you think that these protesters were paid to protest? The writer of the article said, quote, I definitely do not conclude that the people marching were paid to do so. Full stop. That's it.
And that says what to you? That's just another person's opinion. And how do you know that that person is telling the truth?
Jesse,
David, the
it's
point
not another
is,
person's opinion.
David, the point is, you do not, David, I don't want to wait.
Said that the protesters were
David,
paid. Breitbart got that from Asra Nomani, who says she doesn't believe that the protesters were paid. So let me see if I can explain this. By citing Breitbart, you're citing Asra Nomani, who doesn't think the protesters were paid.
She doesn't think that they were.
It's literally Groundhog Day today, but I feel like I'm in the movie Groundhog Day here.
David,
you're citing someone who doesn't believe anybody was paid.
David, I'm turning your mic off. You cannot speak over me.
I can't. I think we might have a delay. I can't hear you.
We're going to have
I guess you're going Bill O'Reilly on me there.
David, we need to have a conversation. You can't speak. We're running out of time, and every time I attempt to ask a question or present something to you, you're just running off at the mouth. It doesn't work that way here.
That's because of your Skype configuration.
No, it's not. It's not that. We've not had that problem any other time. At any other time, I want to know what is your proof that. First, let me ask this because I wanted to ask you about Donald Trump. Did you vote for Donald Trump? You support President Trump?
What do you think?
I don't know. I don't want to assume as you're doing about the Dirty March, the Women's Dirty March rally. Did you support him?
No, I did not.
And why not?
Oh, there's no policies of Trump's, other than some very minor overlaps with Bernie Sanders that I agree with him on.
And so you want to believe that George, because you're one of them, you want to believe that George Soros and others did not support or pay protesters at the Dirty March rally. You have no proof at all that they were not paid, but yet you wrote an article saying that they were not paid.
Jesse, do you understand the difference between saying they weren't paid and saying there's no evidence they were paid? Is that a difference that you understand conceptually?
I cited your source, Breitbart and others who have said that they were paid. Do you agree with that the left is more violent and oppressive than the right?
No, I don't, Jesse.
And why not?
Because there's no evidence to suggest that.
So you have not seen the violence and protest, for example, on the inauguration day of President Donald Trump. There were violence. People were set in at least one car, limousine was set on fire there in Washington, D.C. and other areas. Did you see that violence?
I feel like this is a clinic in logical fallacies. Do you understand how
pointing to
one incident of violence does not allow us to make any generalizations about whether liberals or conservatives have a higher or lower tendency towards violence? Is that, again, conceptually, is that something you understand?
Do you remember when the Tea Party rallies were happening?
I generally remember, yeah.
There were no violence.
That's
None.
Not true. There was
Zero.
Plenty of violence.
No, you had the left.
Objectively, conservatives are more violent because I can point to one incident of Tea Party violence, I would be committing the same logical fallacy you're committing. I'm having a really hard time believing this is a serious conversation.
You had the children of the left coming out and attacking the Tea Party and pretending that it was members of the Tea Party itself, just as we saw during the campaign, presidential campaign with President Trump and Hillary Clinton. You had the children of the left, the children of the lie, going to President Trump's rallies and attacking the supporters, but the liberal media reported it as though it was supporters of Trump. And you're in denial about that.
Your mic's cutting in and out, Jesse. I don't know if there was a question in there.
Let me take a break. Back in a moment. Again, I'm talking to David Pakman. He is pretending that he's having problem with the Skype line there. See how he can hear me now, real clear, no problem hearing. And
you're cutting in and out even right now, Jesse.
He is pretending that he can't hear me in order to waste time and not really answer questions here. David, do you remember the 99% march with the Occupy Wall Street there in New York and around the country? Remember when that was happening?
I do.
And do you remember there were reports of sexual assaults and rape and defecation on police cars, and they just destroyed the areas that they protest in. And then during Donald Trump's run against Hillary Clinton in Chicago, they had to shut down one of his rallies because the children of the lie on the left protested and threatened, and it got so out of control. And that was on video. Do you remember any of those things?
I do.
And were that radical left violence?
Have
you seen anyone on the right carry on in that manner?
Of course. Right-wingers are violent all the time. We have countless instances of gun-toting right-wingers protesting violence, hate crimes, etc. Is this really what your audience wants to hear?
David,
I mean, this doesn't seem interesting.
David, you have never seen people on the right, on the side of good, acting in that way, so you're being dishonest.
What you're doing is intellectually dishonest, because you've couched it as you've never seen people on the right on the side of good, which allows you to take anyone on the right who's violent and you say, well, they're not on the side of good, so they don't count. I mean, these are really sort of like amateurish distractions that you use.
David, you're not, just as you're not giving us any proof that the Dirty Women March protesters were not paid, you're not being honest in your discussion, in your dialogue now.
No, sorry, Jesse. I think you just don't understand burden of proof.
And you're not being honest about the Skype situation. You have no problems happening there. But I appreciate you coming on. You are a typical liberal, and we got what we expected from you.
I think that we certainly got what we expected from you. That's for sure. No facts, misunderstanding of the burden of proof.
And you're just honest about the whole dialogue. Thank you for coming on, man. The future of the Democratic Party is not looking good. Not looking good at all, and that is good for America. It is not a negative. It is a positive. I have with me David Pakman. He is a progressive host and executive producer of the nationally syndicated radio and TV program, The David Pakman Show. And I wanted to talk to David about the Democratic Party, political correctness, and President Trump's performance. It's a year now since he's been elected. And the great white hope is making America great again. David, welcome back to the show.
Oh, I can't even tell you what a pleasure it is to be back with you today. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. I want to talk to you about the great white hope first, the president. How would you rate him? You know, he's been elected a year now. And how would you rate the president on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best?
I would say probably a 0.
Really? And why is that?
Well, I judge him by his own campaign promises. He was going to build a wall with Mexico that they would pay for. That's not happening. It's not going to happen. He was going to repeal and replace Obamacare with something better. 3 proposals to replace it all would have led to 15 to 23 million people ending up without care, but all of those failed to pass. Another big campaign promise. He said he would do it right away. Failed to do it. He said he was going to renegotiate trade deals, still hasn't done that. He also said he was going to pass a tax cut bill, not looking good. The Senate now in a whole bunch of trouble trying to figure out, well, how do we do this? It's going to explode the deficit. We're not going to be able to go back to our constituents and explain to them why did we vote to explode the deficit. So, I mean, I think by his own standards, he's accomplished none of the things he promised to accomplish.
Well, he hasn't been there a year yet. He was elected a year ago today. Do you expect, or did you expect all those things to happen within the first year?
Did he? I mean, he's the one who said. He's the one who said.
He didn't say he would do all those things in the first year.
Are you asking me whether I believe Donald Trump's campaign promises? Is that the question?
I'm asking you, did you believe that the president, the great white hope, would do all those things in the first year of being in office?
I didn't believe him when he said he would repeal Obamacare right away. No, I didn't believe him.
How about the rest of the things that you mentioned? Did you think he would do all those things in the first year of being in office?
No, but he hasn't done any of them.
Amazing.
Hold on, Jesse. Wait a second. What was? You tell me what he's done. How would you rate him?
Well, we have a conservative Supreme Court justice on the U.S. Supreme Court right now. We have the jobs are coming back.
What jobs? Talk to me about the jobs, Jesse. How has the job creation rate changed from President Obama? Give me the numbers. We've got a record 95.3 million people out of the workforce. Record. Historical high.
David, you must calm down. The filing of unemployment have gone down. The illegal aliens coming across the borders, are down. He has managed to put a hold on radical Islamic terrorist countries where they are coming into our country. It's a lot happening, but I don't want to.
The travel ban has been blocked.
I know
it's
that,
not true. What has President Trump done? Those talking points mean nothing. The travel ban has been blocked 3 times.
I know that you don't like the man, so nothing he's going to be able, to do will make you happy. So
that's not true, Jesse. That's not true. You're putting words in my mouth, and you know that's not fair.
Mainly,
I could tell you what he could.
You really should
calm
down.
You're not being honest here, Jesse. You know that.
Calm down, David. For over 60 years, the Democratic Party has gotten worse, destroying the family, masculinity. They hate men, real men, straight men.
What's an example of that? Can you give me some evidence of that, Jesse?
They hate the unborn child, so they are still pushing abortion. They have no love or respect for blacks and Hispanics. They believe that the blacks and Hispanics are only worth is for a vote. They're attacking Christianity and white straight male. You are a progressive. What does it mean to be a progressive? What is that?
It's for progress and against stagnation and a return to values that are outdated and irrelevant in modern society.
And what type of progress? Give me an example of progress.
The reduction in incredibly damaging economic inequality, the push for a basic level of health care for everybody, regardless of ability to pay, a push for an economy that is not going to allow the richest to become endlessly richer while the poor continue to be poor. I mean, there's a long list. I mean, I think, the problem is that there's a lot. I'm not a Democrat, by the way. I've never been a Democrat. So if the idea is to get me to.
No, you are a progressive. So I'm asking about that. So let me ask.
Well, I didn't even finish answering the question. How long do we have? Because this is a very weird interview. We didn't even. I was trying to get you to tell me exactly what Trump had done to achieve those so-called achievements, and you moved on to the Democratic Party. It's a very strange interview. I've never experienced anything like it.
Well, that's the first time in life for everything. Let me ask, the military paid for so-called sex reassignment surgery. and our tax dollars are paying for it, even though we don't agree with that at all. Is
We
that
being who?
The conservative Christian people of this country?
Well, that's just a fraction of the population, right?
Is that progress when men are confused about their gender and women are confused about theirs, and now we're paying for it? Is that progress?
Are you a fiscal conservative, Jesse?
Answer that question, David. Is that progress?
Well, are you a fiscal conservative?
David, answer that question. Is that progress?
It's not an example of something that is or isn't progress. But the reason I'm asking whether you're a fiscal conservative
What would you
is
call
it's
that, David?
cheaper. It's cheaper
David,
to
what would
pay
you
for
call
those
that?
procedures
Why-
than to
why did-
discharge, to find and discharge every transgender member of the military. So if you're a fiscal conservative, and I've
David.
heard you say that you are, you should favor the cheaper
Why do
option,
we have
which
this
is
guy
paying
back
for
on the
those
show?
procedures and not paying for what it
James.
would cost to find and discharge all those
David,
transgender military members.
David, you're not here to communicate. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to let you go. It's a waste of time to talk to you. We're not communicating. You're acting like an
No,
idiot.
because you're asking bizarre questions
You're
and not
acting
answering
like an
any of them.
idiot, and you're wasting my time. I appreciate
ad
you
hominem.
coming. All right, thank
an
you
ad
for
hominem,
coming.
so you know
Goodbye.
that.
Goodbye. Let him go. That's a progressive, folks. All men who are progressive, or males who are progressive, are weak people. They are weak people. And why have these people on? It doesn't even make sense. They don't come to communicate because they're too insecure. And David Pakman is a very insecure progressive. Real men are not progressive. Progressives, whatever they are. That's not the nature of a man. I don't even know why you guys invited that guy back. Amazing stuff. This is what has happened to the men of America today. Not all, but many of them have become girly men. Girly men. It's ridiculous. It's not progressive when the military is paying for a confused male or female. I mean, we don't know yet, was it a man who was put on a woman's body parts, or was it a woman who put on a man body parts and pretended to be something that they're not? The military paid for that, folks. Can you believe that? We are paying for it. The military is not paying for it. We are paying for it. So I just want to make sure you know out there that we had David Pakman on before, and I forgot that we had him on. My producer reminded me that we had, but I forgot that God can't communicate. He's a deceiver. He is part of the family of the children of the lie. So I never would have had him back on. It's a waste of time. My producer's here, James. Why did you have him back?
Because he's a as you picked up on, he's like a lively debater.
Well, he's not a debater.
Well, I know, but in the sense that he is lively and very well-known, popular, respected in terms of being like a even
Respected
keel.
by who? The children of the lie?
Yeah,
Oh, respected by Satan's folks.
correct.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, like, he is a little different from them in that he seems to think a little bit more for himself. Like he doesn't.
He
fall
doesn't.
For I know, but he seems to.
But how you seem to? He didn't do it the first time he was on the show. He didn't do it just now. How to you he seemed to be different?
Because he definitely is different from them.
In
Because
what way?
He
He's
doesn't.
evil.
Yeah, but different kind of evil.
The guy came on with the intent not to communicate, but not to be honest. He's an evil person. How is he different than any of them?
He is because watch. For example, the
Because watch.
the thing with Trump, he wanted to get his points through, and he wanted you to address those points.
But he wasn't interviewing me. I was interviewing
Right.
him. But that's another setup where he set that up so he doesn't have to answer questions to tell the truth. That's not very bright.
And then you're right about the transgender thing. He doesn't see that as a progressive or non-progressive issue, I guess. and then
He does. He just didn't want to tell the truth about it.
Yeah, he was jumping ahead to get you into a bind of, oh, I'm paying even more money to kick the transgenders out of the military.
I can't believe you brought that person back on here. Don't ever bring him back again. He's an evil person. He really is an evil person. And I'm surprised he even accepted, but he didn't accept because he wanted to come back and do better than he did the first time he came. I'm surprised. I don't understand it. I should fire you. Should I fire you? It was that bad. The guy was evil. You can just see that he was evil.
I'm glad that we did it because it demonstrated how he won't really address you on your level on what you're talking about.
Because he can't be honest.
Right.
And I don't know what you mean by he jumping ahead. He refused to answer questions because he can't tell the truth.
By jumping ahead, I mean...
I asked him about the transgender thing. He didn't answer that.
I know, he jumped ahead.
But that's not jumping ahead. That's refusing to answer a question.
I know. But he kind of did answer the question by saying it's neither progressive nor non-progressive.
I didn't ask him about that.
You asked him if it's progress.
Right.
And then he said, it doesn't matter if it's progress or not progress.
Don't ever have that evil person back. That man is on the same wickedness as Barack Obama.
But you would have Barack on the show.
I would.
And it demonstrates that they don't really communicate directly with you.
Yeah. Well, remember not to have him back. Had I known it was him, I would have said no when you told me this David Pakman guy was coming. But it's James' fault. Amazing. And don't forget to like, follow, tweet, subscribe, and share the Jesse Lee Peterson radio show, folks. We really appreciate it. We are at war. It is a spiritual battle for the soul of America. And it's going to take all of us to do it.